Good afternoon, everyone. This is RAND. Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, June 30, 2024, a little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. Already June gone after today. Do not delude yourself by imagining your source to be some God outside you. Your source is within yourself. Give yourself up to it. Seek the source within and merge with it, Ramana Maharishi. That's what we're doing, to discover the source within. We were programmed to believe the opposite, that the God is outside of us. You know, we live in a world that ignores the fact that a supreme, divine, all-loving intelligence lives within us. And we've been programmed to believe we are spiritually disconnected and must fix our broken selves to feel whole and reconnected again. We don't realize it, yet we are just used to feeling spiritually numb. As we have been plagued every day of our lives by an overly materialistic society which is constantly seducing us with its glorified, multi-billion-dollar hypnotic media programming. So most of us, I'd say, we have contracted a deep case of spiritual amnesia and have forgotten how to relax into our spiritual essence, find our own intimate connection with the divine. How do we know that? Is that all made up? Well, all you got to do is look around you. Look everywhere. Look at the rat race. And not judge, but through the heart-mind. And you'll see it every day, all the time. Now, this everyday ignorance of our spiritual nature is really, on all that's been done with this civilization, is the greatest lie mankind is living today. It is the cause of every moment of suffering each human being is currently in this very now enduring. Now, one may think this spiritual drought was created by mankind coincidentally and is not part of the grand divine design. Well, we all know that nothing is by coincidence or without purpose in this universe. This blind ignorance is within us all on purpose, so that we move more passionately towards a state of awakening. Now, these intense levels of disconnection only drive us deeper inside ourselves to find our own soul. This lifetime that we have is meant to be a deeply enlightening experience. Is there anything more important than knowing how to access your own direct personal connection to an all-powerful, deeply eternal loving source of highly intelligent creative energy and has the magical power to manifest anything your heart desires? There is nothing more vital to finding happiness in this life than knowing one's spiritual connection, and nothing more exciting than a proven way to access it, which works every time. It doesn't matter, how ridiculously stuck that any of us feel about our financial situation, relationships, health, sex life, and future. There is always a way to reach freedom. If and when you wish to gain a greater spiritual perspective in this life, it's your choice. You make the choice today to clarify your personal relationship with the divine. You can see how far you've come on your spiritual journey by just asking yourself some questions. And these questions people should have them, to be able to draw on them all the time. And sit on a daily basis to ask themselves. Like, what is stopping you from always being in communion with God, with the real you? Well, we are directed out there, aren't we? All the other stuff that is dumped on our doorsteps. What exactly is your relationship with God like? Or do you even have one? I think a lot of people get this confused really a lot, by believing it's religious. And religion, it isn't. It's so far from it. It has nothing to do with religion. Remember, religion is man-made. What does it feel like when you're having a truly intimate connection with God? How often do you recognize and connect with the divine aspects of yourself? How is your life different when living with this connection versus without it? These are questions that you ask yourself. And, the ego mind's going to make you feel, this is crazy. What am I doing this for? Asking me about this. Because remember, our programming since little babies, it's deep-seated, this programming. But the longer any of us sit with these questions and feel into our answers, the deeper we will dig into our soul and eventually discover our spiritual connection. And a lot of people think that, it's too late for me. Never too late to connect. Now, even if you believe that you have wasted 75 years of your life on gluttonous, frivolous, mindless activities, feeling perpetually lost in a superficial life, guess what? The God source is still there. It's not going anywhere. It's within us. The door to the divine is always open. And God is waiting for you to come in. When you take one step towards God, God's going to take 10 steps towards you. Now, it's a decision that we make. It's a commitment where we say, make time to redefine my relationship with the divine. And I guarantee that your precious time will not be wasted. Where do you go for the divine? Where the heck is the divine? Well, always first look into your heart rather than your head. We all know the head is so full of ideas about what God is and is not. Why so many people on this planet are completely confused. The head misses the real experience, feeling, and quality of godliness when the mind is quiet, still, and single-pointed into the now. We can instantly find that deeply alive spiritual feeling inside. You really configure. You say to yourself, boy, I've been And remember, you're gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. So you say, I've always been the God within this body. I've always been the source. I've always been the kingdom of God, the heaven. And the God source exists within the heart and at the core of our soul. As we relax into this place, a timeless, deeply loving, eternal, conscious energy sneaks into us and relaxes every cell. And we have a few trillion cells and fiber of our very being. Now, God seems to be the most mysterious thing in this universe. Perhaps because it is the universe. Just like you're the universe, and the universe is you. And when we look at this, God exists in everyone and everything. And, and you look at people that you just maybe not, you don't really care for them, okay? But God is there too. And those people you think are deeply disconnected. Have you wondered, how can such an amazing presence be so spatially close to us and still be so difficult to feel and see? It really is like trying to look into your own eyes without a mirror. We look out at life, this life, through these little teeny black holes in our eyes, taking them for granted and not realizing they exist at all because they are so close to us. And when something is too close to us, we are often unaware how precious it is. And the same applies to noticing God. We are unaware of God until we take a step back and look deeper into our own reflection and the great mirror that is all around us. You look at anybody, some way they're reflecting you. God is more like a mysterious infinite energy than some fixed stagnant entity. The great isness is instantly found when we stop and feel into this eternal quality, which feels like we are always and forever here now. And the isness is our infinite nature. And this can only be experienced when we are living fully in the now, exploring life from a relaxed, trusting connection. And this divine isness is the most accepting, healing, forgiving energy one could imagine. The isness is the source of deep, eternal love, which when momentarily welcomed, we instantly feel the most profound ecstatic joy inside our heart. The knowing that we are eternal spiritual beings moves through us throughout the day, like a healing river. The knowing that we are eternal. See, the knowing within our heart minds that we are eternal spiritual beings moves through us throughout the day like a healing river of eternal liquid love. The very second we surrender our heart to just the idea of an eternally loving isness, we immediately find peace, a sense of bliss, and a feeling of real satisfaction that cannot be compared. Knowing this isness is our basic nature. We start radiating like the sun and start shining our own spiritual essence onto everyone in our life. Now, the only reason, and I've had people say, well, I don't feel it or feel like that. The only reason we may not feel, believe and know that God is right here within the very center of our body, soul, and heart, right in this very now moment, is because of one thing blocking the way. Our overly busy, demanding, controlling, and desiring mind. What's the ironic thing about it is that the mind is an illusion. It isn't real. And as long as the mind is wanting something, willing something, thinking it is lacking something, trying to reach a better place other than the great isness it's here now, we will easily miss our spiritual path. We will find ourselves living in thoughts about God instead of experiencing the real divinity. Now, if or when we get too lost in the head, we might end up walking into some highly intellectual, materialistic, and spiritually dry future. Now, the God source is infinitely complex, yet, at the same time, deeply simple. And God is actually quite easy to experience. The trick is learning what it takes to fully be here now. Feel the divine isness. We must first begin feeling whatever is up for us in this moment. Must choose to explore how we can let go of the mind and open ourselves up emotionally, feeling everything that is here now. When we call off the mental search, looking for God out there, and simply feel into the core essence of our being, we find that we have been the ones who were hiding and protecting ourselves from the divine. The pure consciousness that God has always been here, is always here, radiating within every atom in existence. As we drop deeper beneath the thinking mind and through our blocked emotions, we discover the greatest source of peace, silence, stillness. This is where God abides. And on Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. Who's saying that? You are. We all are. Be still, which means, like in meditation, you're very still as a statue. You're out of the ego mind, you're in the heart mind. You're focused on the breath rising and falling. Hence, be still, know that I am God. Perhaps one of the most radical truths about this human existence is this. We humans are either existing in some form of suffering or living in some form of bliss. We are either in one or the other. We are either living up in our head or we are in the heart of God. Once we quiet the mind and open our heart together, we can live a balanced life in both realms of head and heart. The difference is that the heart mind oversees the ego mind. In doing this, we then start merging with the infinite mind of God. Now, when we can remain in this balance 24 hours a day, we will master this lifetime. That's huge. What does that mean, master this lifetime? Well, it means that you have literally reprogrammed yourself to be in the now at all times. That you don't go into the ego mind at all. That you have mastered the ego mind and you have also mastered your thoughts. So you stop suffering permanently. You stop worrying, stressing, and fearing permanently. You actually, you're all of that we all are immersed in is not there. And by us living in a constant emotional connection with the divine from our core, we become a living, bliss-breathing manifestation machine, perpetually creating every beautiful idea we feel and focus upon. Now, one might say, well, why can't we do that in the ego mind? Well, it pretty much answers itself, doesn't it? We know that the ego mind never stops wanting. It's never satisfied. It's always worry, stressing, and fearing. It's always coming up with avenues. There are not many things guaranteed in this life, as we all know. Yet one thing that is 100% guaranteed is this. At some point, we are going to return to God. It will happen either when your body is still alive or when your body stops breathing. Eventually, you'll feel intimately connected with God again. So do not worry about when or how. All roads lead back to God. The path ahead and the path behind you both lead back to God. God is unavoidable because our past and future are just mental concepts which only exist within this living present moment. See, the mind alone is always blind to the divine. It is only with a quiet, surrendered mind that we may have access, an open, receptive heart, which can see God in everyone and everything. The mind just does not want to realize how ignorant it actually is. It doesn't want to see how powerless, unfulfilled, and trapped it is, as this would cause a huge embarrassment to the ego. When we spiritually wake up, the mind realizes its petty search in the outer world to find everlasting satisfaction is spiritually fruitless. Only when the mind surrenders to God, we discover what absolute bliss feels like. Otherwise, the mind will continue to persist in its addictive habits of seeking fulfillment in the outer world. It will ignore seeing how true bliss is available here, now, as it needs to continue its addictive search for years, decades, and lifetimes. The mind is always trying to get its desires met by people, food, substances, money, ideas, and is in the habit of constantly yearning for something. Yet, as we all know, once the mind gets what it wants, it's happy for a short while. Then it is back on the hamster wheel again, searching for fulfillment again. The mind is deeply unaware that it can never, ever, ever, ever be truly satisfied. Deeply aware of this. That's crazy. It's good to know that whatever happens in this life, there are no real mistakes. God is an infinitely positive, creative energy, and this fierce force does not know what a mistake is. Every mistake that we perceive to be real or true is simply the mind forming another judgment. There is universal right or wrong book, right? There isn't. There is only deeper shades of truth, in which each higher layer only reveals a higher, lighter perspective on our enlightening mission we are here to learn. What happens, because it will, for all of us, the greatest goal of this life is to find that God source inside us 24 hours a day. This is the only thing which truly satisfies. Everything else falls vastly short. It's the only thing that satisfies. Everything else, no way, Jose. Feeling into our own personal, intimate connection with the divine is the most important thing you can do with your time each day. Everything else you do is going to be the ego seeking some form of gratification, which of course will not last. And I believe that more and more people are becoming more aware of the ego, as it is easily caught in complaints, negativity, and creating problems that weren't there before. Your only job is to move beyond your ego, transcend your small self, step into the big self that you truly are. When you finally surrender to God at the center of your soul, will you know without a doubt that you have just discovered the most amazing experience of coming home. How many of us, in conversations with ourselves, say that we are self-realized? Right? Self-realization. That's the greatest shift that any human being can have in this lifetime, is the experience of full self-realization. There's a lot of definitions which point to it. Yet ultimately, it is a fancy word for realizing that the unlimited, all-powerful, omniscient self, who you truly are, this means we must go beyond every idea, concept, and boundary which we've defined ourselves to be. Self-realization is an endless journey, where we not only realize that we are beyond this physical form all day long, yet we have a direct experience of it with everything and everyone. We feel and sense a reverence for the spiritual being we truly are that is not separate from this world around us. It is the most profound awakening process one can have, which expands within you every moment of the day, becoming an integrated aspect of everyday life. There really is no deeper transformation in consciousness that any human can have than becoming self-realized. The change in perspective is so completely radical and utterly life-morphing that nothing else can compare. Take the most profound experience of your life to date and then stretch it so it continuously grows and expands 24 hours a day. This is a taste of what self-realization is like. Your entire experience of reality is so different. It's as if you had been living like an Eskimo living for 70 years in the Arctic Circle, and you decide to go to Tahiti. The reason why it's so important to understand how ridiculously different the experience of self-realization is because it helps the mind drop any possible attempts to formulate a hardened concept about it. What it actually is cannot be grasped by the mind. The more the mind tries to think that it knows what self-realization is, the further you drift away from the experience of it. There's no mental concept in this universe that can prepare you for self-realization other than a perpetual willingness to surrender into the mystery and curiosity of it. Now, we would all like a formula for a way to live life that is more enlightened and liberating. The challenge is that every formula that works once, it's not going to work forever. All formulas last for a limited period of time, and then we outgrow them. This is because the nature of our consciousness is meant to expand, become more flexible and diversified. It's like let's say that you lived it somewhere for a long time, whatever long time to you is, and you left and you went somewhere else. Everything was different, right? But you were familiar with that area. You knew every, road and neighborhoods and the stores and everything. So, and you have friends there who stayed there. Friends didn't move with you. So many years later, someone gives you a call and says, hey, why don't we get together? And, of course, you haven't been back there in a long time. You say, yeah, great, okay. You go there, and for you, it's changed. Okay? Not really for them, but for you, it's not the same. It's not the same. They're saying, oh, yeah, well, we built this and had this happen, and you go, wow. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like it used to. See, it's about the formula. It's not always going to work. Formula of familiarity. Formula of the surroundings. And it is only through absolute surrender to this infinite universe can self-realization be invoked and gifted to us. And this level of surrender means we're inviting in the feeling that anything is possible, which means you must choose to let go of just about everything you've known to be true, because we've been taught that just about most things aren't possible, right? Oh, that's not possible. That's not possible. Well, sure it is. Nah, that's not possible either. It's like you got to let go of it all. If you want to get there, you got to let go of this stuff. Everything you've known to be true. And it's not easy to let go of our beliefs, is it? Really isn't. Yet it's the only way we will ever find the experience of being truly free. Now, some of us are just beginning this, decided, maybe a day ago, who knows. Others, been a while. And to begin this seemingly impossible and spiritual quest for freedom, remember, everything's possible. All begins with inquiring into the source and center of who and what you actually are. And when you relax, like we do every day on this meditation, into the body, meditate and dive into the center of you. And there, you will first find the mind and its stories about you. The infinite experience of you is behind these thoughts. It comes from diving into the center of your presence, your essence. And there you can go into it for infinity. There's always another experience within the center of each experience. And eventually, this is how we become centered within our spiritual essence. In this life, it is always the most random, expansive feelings which redirect our attention away from who we think we are and towards rediscovering our limited creative source of consciousness. If you notice, whenever you talk about yourself, how do you do how you usually refer to the words me, my, or I, right? When you feel into the experience of me, my, or I, what do you notice and perceive is there? Look for a long period of time. You must choose to be infinitely patient with this inquiry, because it is the first step towards uncovering the real you, the God source, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, and is vastly deep and transforming. Now, a lot of people, I'm not going there. Sounds too scary. Now, I'm going to stay right here. The longer that you can maintain a focus of inquiring who or what I am, you saying who or what am I, the faster you will realize the shocking truth of who and what you actually are. See, self-awareness is huge. What does that mean? Well, you become self-aware. You know that through the heart-mind, you're the God within that body. You're the source. You're the infinite being. You're immortal supreme being that never dies. And everything else is temporary. It's also an illusion. Now, it is a challenge to say to someone, you know that everything around you is an illusion. Right? It's an illusion. You know, this isn't real. We create it. As long as we focus on it, it's here. We stop focusing on it, it disappears. I know that's strange. There's a lot of people. But it's true, been proven thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Now, for instance, real simple. At one time, right, how did we keep our food cold? What did we do? Well, we put it in root cellars, about 55 degrees. And keeps most stuff pretty good. But we all started talking about the fact, wouldn't it be nice if we had something that kept our food cold, preserved, so to speak, keep it from spoiling? So then what did we, and see, this is collective. This is, we're us thinking about what we want. Focused on what we want, then what happens? Well, someone comes up with a way to line a wooden cabinet with metal, right? and stick a block of ice at the top of it. And voila, first refrigerator. But then we keep improving it to the point to where we have it today. And we all think about that. Or someone says, boy, it sure be nice. This used to go on years ago. Sure be nice to have a dishwasher. I wouldn't have to hand wash dishes all the time and hand dry them. Sooner or later, what happens? They have a dishwasher. It's really interesting because we're so close to it that we don't realize it, that we take it for granted. That on an everyday basis, we're manifesting something. It's almost instantaneous because it comes in. And that's where self-awareness comes in. How many of us do you believe are self-aware in this very now moment? You think a whole lot, or maybe a few? Interesting, isn't it? These are questions, in the quiet time, and it's not like you're pushing, pressing, forcing anything. You're just curious. So, you can begin to understand that everything, right, that you experience, that you see, that you interact with, that you interface with, all of it together, you created it. You manifested it. And the frustrating thing is when you're not self-aware, you have no clue that you have whatsoever. And anybody makes the attempt to try to do what they can to educate you that, yes, that is so, your ego mind's going to put one heck of a fight up. And see, this is why we communicate this so much with ourselves. Because it's the only way we're going to get there. To discover the real discovery of who and what we are, and what all this is. What in the heck is all this? Where did it come from? Where did the solar system come from? Where did all this stuff come from? Would it just, there it is? No, it comes from the collective consciousness. Every hyper-quantum particle, which means a very small particle that is in vibrational frequency at a tremendous velocity. So you begin to realize is that we did this. We continue to do it. And so you can see how important self-realization is through the heart-mind. Because if we don't have it, we have what we have right now in this moment on this planet. And all the things that are, all the show, the illusion, the sleight of hand. But when you know, and you're self-aware, that you are a God in that body, everything shifts. Everything. Your perspective, how you view things, how you view your life. Every step you take, is it the way it was before you were not self-realized? So in the quiet time of this meditation, ponder or contemplate the fact that all of us, gods, and all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond and forever. In other words, beyond even consciousness, created all this and continue to do so. It's like a universe will cease, another one will be born. Okay? One universe merges in with another when you have a larger universe. And then you have microscopic universes. I mean, there isn't a description in our word in our vocabulary that describes it. That's how vast it is. Anything that is life, maybe not how you perceive it, is God. Is pure consciousness. Experiencing, interacting, and interfacing. That's what it's all about. This is our natural state of being. Quiet time of this meditation, you're in deep relaxation into the body. You're focused on the breath rising and falling. See if you can feel it in your heart, mind. Join you in the meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy, slow breath in through the nose. Easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Continue to focus on the breath, rising and falling. Enlightenment comes like a bolt of lightning, yet can trickle throughout your life like a slow, soothing stream. Investigate today how you casually react to people. Notice if you generally have a protective hardness, lightness, resistance, friendliness, defensiveness, pushiness, or perhaps a needy energy. Watch what typical reaction you have with others and don't change it. Let it change into something else on its own. Be patient with it. Ask it questions that might unravel its path. Do not be attached to what comes about. Simply drop into intuit profoundly. Choose to be in your heart of your programming deeply and let the self-realization come out of it. This is the only thing that will stop the habits. Just how you will evolve quickly in your consciousness. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, the following morning. And we will return here Monday, July 1, 2024, a little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times, no matter what's going on within you or outside of you. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest deepest, purest of the purest purest, eternal gratitude at all times. Open your heart, let the magic flow in.